Hi everyone, Angus here. I wanted to try and make a shorter video on how I find breakout type stocks. But these are much more speculative stocks. These are stocks where I'm trying to find stocks that are going to go up 20 to 50% or even more within that same day's trade. And you know, I'd like these momentum stocks where they might keep running for a couple of days. But this is really a strategy where you're trying to find these stocks that, you know, based on some sort of a discovery or major deal, they're going to, you know, explode and go through the roof. And so the way that I do this is very simple. You can see that I've got just the sort of standard, you know, things like the, you know, standard headings here. And so I've made videos in the past where I can show you how I add indicators and how I set up the screener. But, you know, what I'll do very quickly is there's a few headings that I know that I want. So I'm just going to get rid of these just to show you how I go through and I add everything. Remove that. I'll probably remove ones that I don't want. Remove column. Remove column. Remove column. Just bear with me while I set this up. Right, that's the sort of start of it. And so you can see that there's 9,892 stocks, which is, you know, way too many stocks to have to plow through and try and work out what you want. And so what I want to do is I want to add my Bollinger Band indicator, because this is a strategy built around Bollinger Bands. You can just go to Google and you can find out more about Bollinger Bands, and, you know, there's heaps and heaps of YouTube videos about Bollinger Band strategies. There's lots of different ways you can interpret them, lots of different ways you can trade them. The simplest way to think of a Bollinger Band is the red line in the middle is literally a 20-day simple moving average. So it's just, you know, it's literally just a 20-day moving average. And the lines above and below are two standard deviations away from that moving average. And in theory, 90% of all of the stocks trade, all of the stocks movement, will happen between these upper and lower bands. And so what I'm trying to do with this particular strategy, it's a short-term strategy. It's not a buy and hold strategy, because we're trying to find these really speculative stocks that are, you know, rocketing for whatever reason. And so what we want to try and do is we want to identify stocks where something unusual has happened. They've broken above that, you know, upper Bollinger Band, and they've closed above it. So it's not just, like, you know, breakout during the day like this one here. It actually has to physically break above it and close completely above it. So, you know, that's the sort of top part of the filled in square means that that's where it's closed. Just go across here a bit better. So you can see how that sort of closed above that upper Bollinger Band. So we want to make sure we're only looking for stocks that have closed above it. The more horizontal that a stock has been trading before it breaks out, typically the bigger the move is going to be. So it's always good when we can try and identify where the stock has moved sideways for a little bit, you know, for a little while, and then it has this breakout where something unusual has happened, and that's normally as a result of news, or it could even be insider tradings. We've got, you know, insider traders who've got some sort of an indication that, you know, there might be something happening with the stock. There might be some deal or takeover or merger or, you know, who knows what. But, you know, what we're trying to do is wait until we see where the candle breaks fully above that. And we also want to make sure that there's more volume than what would normally be as well. So as always, what I like to do is I like to add a OBV. Like OBV is sort of one of the main indicators that I use. Just stands for unbalanced volume, OBV. And again, you can go and Google it and, you know, understand a bit more about what it does. So that's my OBV line there. I'm going to make him green. Green is good. Make him green. I'll make him a bit thicker so I can see him. And this just basically tells me if there's volume moving into the stock. So even though the average days are down, I can still see that overall it looks like the volume's moving up. So more people are interested in that stock, and the price is certainly heading up the right way as well. You know, volume tends to, you know, drive everything. So but what I want to do is I want to add a 30-day moving average. So add indicator on OBV. I'm just going to go moving average. Because again, as before, as with the Bollinger Bands, which are effectively a 20-day moving average with two standard deviations, what I'm now doing is adding a moving average to my volume. And so he's coming as a purple line. I'm just going to make that big for now. Double click on that. I'm going to make that red. You know, red, green's good, red's bad. I'll make that thick. I'll click OK. I'll shrink him back down. And so what I'm really looking for is I only want to buy these stocks where they're breaking above the upper Bollinger Band, and where the average volume is higher, well, with the current volume, the current OBV is above the moving average. So I'm going to make that a 20-day. I'll make it a 30-day because I kind of want to see what's happening over that 30-day period. So I'm looking for something unusual. So you can see that the line's above it at the moment. So with this particular stock, which is going up, there's more volume slowly coming into it. But for me to then go through 9,862 stocks to try and look at whether they're above that upper Bollinger Band or not, would kill me. It's too slow. So I've got the ticker and I've got the last price. And so what I want to do is I want to start adding a couple of things in. So I'm really only interested in stocks where, let's say, the price is between, I don't know, 50 cents and maybe $50. So let's go between 0.5 and 50. And it's just because we're trying to look for these more speculative stocks that will make these really big moves on news. And so what I'll do is I'll go and add in the sector. If it's got sector, yeah, sector. I think it's sector. I always get confused between sector and industry. No, sector is what I want. I'll move sector over there, and I'll tell you why in a sec. For ticker, I'm just going to get rid of all the weirdo stocks, and I'm just going to leave it as the common stocks. So I'll just put a filter in for common stocks. You can see it's already taken it down to 3,640. For sector, I'm just going to make this bigger while I put in the rest of my filters. So I've got sector, I've got last price. I'm going to put in 3-month performance. So I'll just type in performance. So I'll tick 3-month performance. I also want to have the average volume, because again, everything's driven by volume. So I'm going to put in a 90-day average volume. And the most important one I'm going to put in is Bollinger. And I'm going to put in this Bollinger upper band 20. So I'm going to tick this one here. And so these are the columns that are important to me, and these are what I'm going to filter on. And so I want to find stocks. See how this stock here, AMC, it's only trade, on an average day it trades about 5,000 stocks. This one trades about 3,000 stocks. My whole goal is to try and get this 3,600 down to about 20 or so stocks, which is more manageable. So I'm going to get rid of all the stocks that trade less than 100,000 on daily volume, because I want to have more liquid stocks. This is a really cool thing where what I want to do is the Bollinger upper band. I actually want that upper band to be below the last price, because what that does, it basically says only show me the stocks where something unusual has happened. And so that gives me 77 matches. And so if we shrink this back down, what I then want to do is I want to sort by 3-month performance. And I'm not actually finished filtering yet, but I just want to show you. And so you can see here how some of the things like health technology, miscellaneous health technology, and it's quite often the health technology sector that does appear at the top of these sort of lists. And so you can imagine that. You can imagine that if a company decides that it's discovered the cure for cancer, or if it's got a FDA approval for a new drug treatment or something like that, then it's likely that it's going to possibly spike. And so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to say, let's get rid of everything else other than health. Health is health. Health services. Health technology. Let's tick them both. Let's go health services and health technology. I think it'll be health technology is the one that always comes through. Yeah, let's get rid of that. So let's go back here and click health services, because that's just more hospitals and things which are more likely to grow on earnings as opposed to speculative news. Right, so we've got sorted by 3-month performance. Sometimes you get a stock like this one here, which I just know is bugging the system, because it's obviously hasn't broken above that upper Bollinger Band. So let's look at Trill. Right, and so this is a good example. So this is a stock, you can see it was traveling horizontal, and then all of a sudden it's broken out here. And if we zoom in a bit, you can see that this is what sort of the first day it properly closed above its upper Bollinger Band, and you can see ever since then, like if I zoom back out a bit, if I use my little tool, it tells me how much it's gone up by. So you can see that stock is up roughly 1,000% since the start of December. So we're roughly at the 25th of January now. So over the course of a month, this stock's gone up over 1,000%. So it might have gone up too far. Like we might be way too late to try and catch this move. But the way that I trade these particular stocks is I'll wait until I see a little breakout But the main thing I'd want to do is I want to make sure that my green line in my OBV is above my red line in my the moving average. So I want to make sure that there's volume coming in. I want to make sure that there's buyers who are entering this stock. The steeper the volume of interest, the steeper the volume here, the more you know that it's got something behind it. There's some sort of interest in it. So I probably wouldn't have been terribly interested around this mark here, but when I saw this candle here, I might have been more interested. And what I typically do with these sort of trades is, if I saw this one here at the moment, I think, geez, maybe that's gone too much. But if I wanted to trade it, what I'd actually do is I don't put a market order in or anything like that. What I'll do is I'll look at the price. It's $4.51, and I'll add 2% to it. So I'll go 4.51 with my calculator times 1.02. And so that's $4.60. And so what I would actually do is I would have an entry on that stock of between $4.60 and $4.70. I can't think what it's called. Within I use International Interactive Brokers as my trading platform. It allows me to put in a trade where I can say that buy this stock. It's like a market limit order, I think it is. But it's basically saying buy this stock if it hits $4.60, but only when it hits $4.60. But don't pay more than $4.70 for it. Because if the stock all of a sudden was here and it gapped up to $5 or $6 rather, I don't want to get into that stock when it's gone up so much. I'm really trying to find stocks. I don't want to buy it when it goes down. I really only want to buy it when it looks like it's going to, try and make another one of those 20 to 30% type moves. So, that's why I'm saying only buy the stock if it goes up to, let's say, $4.60, between $4.60 and $4.70, and then automatically put a stop loss of around 5% below my buy price. So if I buy it for $4.60, it's going to be 460 times 0.95. So that gives me around 437. I tend to round these things off. So I'd probably put a stop loss of around about $4.30 just to give it a little bit more room, because these shares are sort of so speculative. So, $4.30 be a stop loss somewhere around about there. And so you can see that I'm literally trying to buy these stocks when they continue to make a move up, but I do protect my downside fairly quickly if I can. So there's 23 matches there, which is quite reasonable. So if we flick through them very quickly, NNVC, again, you can see it's had a bit of a breakout. I do also like it when the stocks had this massive move. It's come all the way back, for whatever reason, but then it started to go back up again. So, if I'd seen this earlier, I probably would have liked it on this second day here where it's starting to break out again. But there's nothing wrong with buying it there, because someone else has gone and paid $13.43 for this stock. And so at the moment, it's probably not going to get back up to $13.43. You never know though. But if it did get up to $13.43, well, that's another 60% gain roughly. And a lot of these stocks do typically tend to run. It takes a few days for the news to trickle through and for some of the bigger investors to perhaps get interested in it. So again, what I do with that stock is I'd look at it and probably say, well, if it gets up to, let's say, it's $8.45 now, if it breaks $9, let's say it gets to $9.05, I'll buy it, between $9.05 and let's say $9.15, and I'll put a 5% stop loss on it. So again, that's one that I, might place an order for. Just hypothetically, as long as it goes the right way. SNGX, you can see it's had a bit of a pullback here. So again, I probably wouldn't trade that stock because it looks like it's heading the wrong way. The OBV is heading the wrong way. So, people aren't so interested in this one at this sort of a price point. AGRX, again, I quite like to look at this one. You can see that the more horizontal that the Bollinger Bands of the price has been, and the more compression, the closer that standard deviation is to the moving average, the bigger the breakout is going to be. But obviously what you want is a breakout to the upside, not to the downside. And so in this particular case here, it broke downwards, which is why you always want to wait to make sure there's volume confirmation that the stock is going to go in your favor. And so where it broke above this one here, I'd look at that and say, well, there was good volume. You can see how far the green line's above the red line. So that's a place that I'd probably look to try and enter that stock. I probably would have got stopped out somewhere around here when it dropped back, but you can see that where it is right now, you can see again it's had quite a period of time from the start of January almost to the end of January, but the price has done nothing. It's sort of been that real stalemate between buyers and sellers, but it has broken up. It has broken out above now. It's got good volume. It was only an 8% breakout, so that's not too impossible to go and buy. So again, I'd probably put a I don't know, I'd put a price around maybe $3.45 or something before I'd enter that stock, just because I want to make sure it continues to go up. CVM, again, it's had a bit of a punch to the roof. It's starting to come back down. Again, it's one of these treatment of cancer. So again, I'd probably wait for that stock just to see what happens a bit, and maybe put a buy price, or have a buy price sitting there around about that, I don't know, $14.60 type mark, $13.96. I'd probably want at least to be in there around 14, maybe 14.45 or something, just to make sure that it's going to head back up and keep going in my direction. CADX, again, I like this sort of a stock where it's had this massive run. It's pulled all the way back. It's still up a long way from where it was that previous day, but it means that there was a lot of people who were prepared to pay up to $2.75 type mark for that stock. It's come all the way back down the next day. Again, I like this kind of a stock because I'd look at that and say, well, geez, a whole bunch of people who might want to try and claw back some of their money through here. I'd probably put a buy on that one around about maybe $2, maybe $2.10, something like that. So again, I'm just waiting to make sure that it's going to go back up in the right direction. Again, none of this should be taken as trading advice. It's just purely how I look at the stock, and I'm just guessing that it might go up. But hopefully the guess is in my favour to some extent. This one here, again, it keeps gapping up and coming down, gapping up, coming down. But it's a $4.24 type stock, so there's a good chance that it might run. Again, I'd probably look at that and say, well, if it goes up to, let's say, $4.40, then that might be worth an entry. What I'm trying to do is make sure that the stock is heading up in my favour, and I want to try and hold on to it while it's going up. RLMD, it's a $40 stock. Again, it's done nothing. It's sort of gone sideways since, it's basically gone sideways for 2 months. It's got a little bit of a breakout here. You can see the volume is starting to come through here a little bit, so that could be worth looking at. SBBP, nice sort of consistent run along the upper Bollinger Bands. You can see the volumes above the OBVs above the moving average. So again, it's run sideways for a while. You can see it had that big breakout. Who knows where it's going to go, but it's not doing crazy big choppy change. It's sort of nice and slow and steady, and sometimes those stocks can be quite good. So as always, I'll probably wait till I got to something like $3.20 before I consider an entry, and always have a stop loss in place. So I won't go through the rest of them, but I just want to sort of show you that this is kind of like an easy way for me to find these stocks where something unusual is happening to that stock, like something has changed about it. Some sort of news has come through, some sort of investment opportunity has occurred. All of a sudden, this stock has got increased interest in terms of volume, so it's got more people wanting to buy the stocks. It's been more actively traded. You can see it's broken above this 20-day moving, this standard deviation of the 20-day moving average. You can see that the bands are starting to move apart. People talk about if the Bollinger Bands start to spread apart, it's always a good sign. That there's some sort of momentum shift in the stock, as opposed to when it's kind of tracking horizontally. So I hope that's of interest. But you can do this for any stock exchange. You can do this for the ASX. You can do it for the US. Whatever you like, always make sure that you do save your column headers. You save your filters, which I think that I'm about not to do. It doesn't really matter anyway. I'll finish the video. But you can change to the different stock exchanges. If you're an Australian investor, you just do exactly the same exercise to the ASX. If you're a US investor, you just change it back to the US chart, the US stocks. The ticker is a very powerful thing that it works very, very well. It's a good way of doing it. The only other thing that I should have done is I can't remember if I did it or not, but I would have sorted by the 3-month moving average, the 3-month performance rather, and bought stocks based on which ones had performed the best over the last 3 months. So I'll click on the Angus Speculative, and I go back to my saved version of Angus Speculative. There's more columns and things in here than what you need, and I'm using the industry as opposed to the sector, but it's based the same principle. But I'd always sort by the 3-month view, and as I said, go through that and start from the top to bottom and work your way through the stocks and pick out the ones you like the best. Anyway, hope that was informative, and I wish you the best, but definitely make sure you have stop losses with these sorts of trades, because they are certainly high risk.